All right, here we are. We're back. Grand Rising, my fellow Elohim, my fellow I am, imagination, whatever you want to call us. That's who we are. Welcome back, everyone, to another sunny Sunday of the One Great I Am Awakening. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and my partner in spirit and in mind, Mr. Gregory Isaac Thomas. We call him Sir T. He'll be joining us momentarily. In the interim, all right? But in the meantime, let us talk about today's topic, introduce today's topic. And today we're going to talk about personal impotence is your strength in manifesting and not a weakness. So, impotence, generally symbolizes or implies that you are not potent, hence the word impotent or impotence. All right. You are not strong. You're not, uh, not within your powers, so to speak. You're weak, not as strong as you used to be. So the word, impotent or impotence, is the opposite of potent or potent, right? But there is a dichotomy within that word, depending on, the how you perceive what we have come to know as consciousness. Consciousness being our uh, power that we operate within this world by and with, has particulars about it as sub departments or compartments in which it operates. And when done in alignment or in a particular sequence, it parts of that consciousness, one part requires to be impotent, meaning to surrender, not try to manifest or bring about or fix anything. It has its use, but not in the department of manifesting. And so that particular part of the consciousness, being the conscious mind, when manifesting, has to surrender or bow down, be humble, um, to a higher power within the consciousness itself, that being the subconscious mind, which is the part of you that relates what you desire consciously or unconsciously. Unfortunately, sometimes we have moods, feelings, and whatnot that comes off as desires to the subconscious, and it does not care, does not know that is not what you desire to experience. But the fact that you consciously or within your conscious mind is paying attention to such thing, whether it be by feeling or um, conscious attention, it takes it at face value and brings it into being. All right. So that being said, as we're becoming more familiar with how the consciousness works, or the departments of consciousness works, we can operate it seamlessly to a point. Um, when we have a desire that we want to manifest or experience. All right. So, but the conscious mind has to be the part that you are surrendering or uh given up to a higher power within the consciousness. And then that part of you, particular consciousness, takes on the task of manifesting what you desire. All right. I'm going to see if I can use some examples or remember any examples personally experienced or what others have mentioned to me and stuff like that to demonstrate, how the consciousness really works in this regard. All right. So personal impotence is not a bad thing. It is your birthright to learn this skill of manifesting. And the sooner we learn this skill, the sooner we establish that this is how manifestation works, or works faster or works better, the sooner we're going to succeed and prosper and all this type of stuff in whatever we desire to have and to experience. All right. Today I'm going to read from the Neville Goddard's um, Deluxe Collection. Again, I'm going to read from this book, the Neville Goddard Deluxe Collection. Has 14 books in here, but today we're going to be reading um, what is this? Chapter 16 of the book Power of Awareness. Okay, the Power of Awareness. We're going to read chapter 16, which is where we got the title from, Personal Impotence. All right. So it's a very short chapter, but we're going to go over it and break it down. Um, but the power of awareness, and that's why we come here every week to develop our awareness of how we operate, because we're so programmed to operate on a subconscious or unconscious level. That's another term for the subconscious, that we do not pay attention to what we're thinking or doing. And we operate about 90 to 95% in that way, unconsciously, meaning that we do not even think about what we're doing, we just do it. Or we have a bunch of habits within the unconscious state that we have developed, and we operate by habits, because the conscious mind is um, a mind that impregnates your subconscious with whatever it pays attention to all the time, habitually. So as the conscious mind does these things habitually, it becomes a program into the subconscious where it operates without you consciously thinking about it. You just do it. And so we have some habits that we've developed, some bad habits, wherein when we are trying to desire something, manifest something, we kind of retracted some of these habits, and they tend to get in our way. All right. So the purpose of doing this on a weekly basis is to undo, is to first learn what to do, undo what we were doing, and then reprogram or relearn the proper way in which to do it. We've been doing this for so long in an unconscious state that these programs, they don't die or don't go away. They tend to resurface time and time again because of our um, emotions, and just having that ongoing connection over the years, that we've done it for so long, so seamlessly, that reprogramming our subconscious does take effort to do it. And it's not that it does not want to take on what you are now learning and want to reprogram it. Is that your subconscious is a mind that by default thinks it's protecting you. You understand? So it cannot and will not learn something right away, because it believes whatever you program it with is what you need, even if it's bad, even if it's a bad habit or a bad idea. Nothing is bad to your subconscious. Everything to it just is. It loves everything. That's why I'm saying God is love. You know, um, when you love, it's a one-track mind. So you love good, bad, the ugly, all these different things. Love is just attachment to something at all times. And so the conscious mind is the one that decides to love or unlove. It's a mind of two-way street, good and evil, right and wrong, up and down, right and left. It gets to decide if it should involve itself in this or that or another. The subconscious does not care about any of that. It just is one track. So everything is designed by default on purpose that way. It cannot be changed, and it consciousness could not work in any other way if it was designed differently. As how we as humans think that this should be this way, that should be that way. We're too wishy-washy. The consciousness has the perfect design. What's missing is our alignment in how it works, um, seamlessly. So we're getting there, little by little. But this topic here will help us to get more in alignment with how to operate the consciousness in the right way in terms of manifesting. Again, we're reading from chapter 16 from the book Power of Awareness. And today's topic is personal impotence is your strength in manifesting, not a weakness. All right. So it kind of contrary to what the word potent versus impotent means. So let's see. It starts by saying self-surrender is essential, and by that is meant the confession of personal impotence. So self-surrender is essential, and by that is meant the confession of personal impotence. This comes from the chapter or this particular verse that says, I can of mine own self do nothing. This is John 5, verse 30. So I can of my own self do nothing. I think that scripture went on to say, the Father in me, it is the Father in me that doeth the work. So this is when Jesus was saying, after going around doing all these miracles and whatnot, was stating, even though people saw him doing these healing and resurrection and all this type of stuff and turning water into wine and walking on water and you know floating in the air and all these different type of stuff, right? Ascending and stuff, was saying that I of my own self, can do nothing or does nothing, but the Father in me doeth the work. So what is it saying right there? All right. Never went on to say, since creation is finished, it is impossible to force anything into being. Since creation is finished, it is impossible to force anything into being. The example of magnetism previously given is a good illustration. You cannot make magnetism, it can only be displayed. You cannot make the law of magnetism. So what Neville is saying there is that nothing that we're doing um, is creating. It is extracting, um, pulling out what already is, what already exists within our very own consciousness. So to create, to use that word, because it's interchangeable, to create means to do something that never is, or never was, or never existed, or did not exist in any way. But with consciousness, there is nothing that is to be that isn't already. It cannot be manufactured from our own knowledge. It already exists. It's already something that is. So knowing that, which is a good thing to know, we now know that anything you think of or heard of or desire or want to experience, you already know it exists. The fact that you can become aware of it, the power of your awareness, implies that it already exists. This is a truth that the whole world does not know. And we think that, if we think of something, it's not in the realm of possibility, you know? So we think a lot of things are impossible, whatever those things may be. But anything that any one of us on an individual level or a group level can think of or desire is possible. It may seem impossible, not possible from a conscious perspective because the conscious mind sees things as impossible because or not possible because we're working from the five senses. We're working from what we can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. We're working from a knowledge of our current situation. So we cannot see outside of the situation. We're inside this box and we cannot think outside of it. We see nothing but doom and gloom because we know the facts. We know the facts already. Nobody has to tell you. You know within your own consciousness the whole truth of your circumstances. But if we could just separate the conscious mind as a mind that's its job. Its job is to know what is going on. So it's a good thing that you know that you don't have the time or the money or the way of making things happen. It's good to know that you don't see it, you don't know it. And the reason why that is because that's how the conscious mind is designed. That's its job, to know what it's facing, what it's up against. That way you can convey what you're up against to your subconscious mind, which is the mind that knows how to do the work. So if you work as a team, then it works. So it's taking yourself or the conscious mind out of it and leaving it up to the higher self. We always talk about the higher self. So there's a lower self and there's a higher self. The lower self is the conscious mind that roams the earth, that have the five senses, that can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch everything that's going on. It's designed for that purpose and cannot be any other way. It's perfect in its design. But trying to operate the whole consciousness, trying to desire something and then manifest it, the conscious mind has no power to do that. But the higher mind, the higher self, the subconscious, who is the wife, the feminine aspect of consciousness, is what is going to carry out the work and knows way that you, the conscious mind, knows not of. You understand? You don't know it, but it's perfectly fine to not know. I see Sir T, you just joined us. Good day, sir. How you stay?
No, morning, everybody. I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm here, but I have a million things happening around me. So
All
I'm
right, brother.
listening this morning.
No worries, no worries. Just join us whenever you get the chance to. All right. So the John 5:30 says it plainly, I can of mine own self do nothing. All right. So you want to relate that to I, the conscious mind desiring, of mine own self can do nothing. So it is a surrender. It is a recognition that we cannot consciously do the thing we desire or the situation or circumstance that we're facing. And that has been our biggest downfall, that we We're always pondering, well, how we're going to do it. How is it going to happen? How is this going to be fixed? When? If. Sometimes we say, if, you know. We're looking at a mountain and we cannot seem to move it. It's bigger than we are. We cannot seem to climb it. It's slippery. We don't have the what do you call it now, the experience of climbing a mountain. We've never done it before and stuff like that. But there's a part of you, a higher self, that knows how to do all of these things. It's already done it. It's born with it. All of what is to be done is already exists within it. So it it um it just has to be initiated and given the task. It doesn't ask for the task. It only respond to the desire or respond to the request. Acknowledge meant that its job is to do the work. It's your helper, as says in scripture about Eve. You know, um, Eve is your helpmate and is the one that brings about your child, which in this case is your desire, and it cannot be done without none of your desires can become apparent without this aspect of your being involved. All right. So we have to just recognize that. But once you recognize that you yourself, the conscious mind or consciously cannot bring about anything, but there is another side of you that does, then you don't have any worry or fret if, when, and how it's going to happen. Only thing that's required now is discipline. You have to discipline your conscious mind to have patience, to have faith, to see the thing already manifested, live as if you're living in the possibility already happening, it's already happened. You're living as if it's already happened. You're talking as if it's already happened. When you perceive things, you're consciously perceiving things as if it's already happened. In other words, if it is to see yourself, in a higher position on your job, you dress the part, you start to dress that part, you start to speak in those terms or terminologies, you start to think in that way of the new or higher position. You start to look into purchasing something because now you're going to have a salary. So now if it's to buy a newer house or first house or whatever it is, have the your check, I mean your pay stubs or whatnot will match the requirements that they're going to ask you for. So you consciously know that that's not the case. You know, currently, presently, that's not how it is. But you have the ability to act as if it is. And your subconscious mind does not know present from past or future. Everything to it is one whole. It doesn't know about the past or the future or the present. Um, it doesn't know anything about all that stuff. Everything to it is one whole happening right now. You understand? So if you're acting as if you're in this present moment, living the part that you desire, the subconscious mind becomes that in reality. Eventually, as you persist in the act, or never call it the assumption, persist in the assumption. He says, assumptions though false, if persisted in, will harden into facts. Assumptions, though false, all of your assumptions are false, but false to who? It's only false to the conscious mind. It's not false to your subconscious at all. because everything moves and have its being within your subconscious. Everything is. You understand? Already exists. Nothing is to be created. Everything already exists. The conscious mind has knowledge of what exists, but does not know how to bring it about and does not know if it's even possible because it only has knowledge of the things. It doesn't have knowledge of how to bring it about. It has knowledge of anything it desires. It knows what it desires, but it doesn't know how to bring it about. And we have not learned the sequence in which consciousness works. So we always think that we're responsible for making the way, you know. But it's very important to know that the conscious mind, or that we consciously are not responsible for knowing the way. We have to surrender, which is a good thing. To surrender, to bow down, to be humble. That's what it really is. Humble yourself, um, and to give way to the higher self. You know, this is why when even in human interaction, we demonstrate when you see the king coming or the queen, everybody bow down, surrendering, giving reverence to the higher, you know, person or persons within our presence, you know. And so we're doing the same thing within consciousness. You know, we have to know when to bow down, when to relax. But I like it right here where it talks about magnetism. So we cannot create magnetism. Magnetism is a law that already exists. We can demonstrate it. You know, we can display it, but we cannot create it. It's a field that already exists within consciousness. And so if there's a magnet, it was not created, it was demonstrated. It was made evident of this magnetism. All right. And it's the same thing with your assumptions. It says right here, in like manner, when you use the faculty of assumption, you are conforming to a law just as real as the law of governing magnetism. You can neither create nor change the law of assumption. So assumption is a law, and that's why it works. So it's not something that you have to know how it works. Just know that it does work. Just like getting in your car and drive it. You don't know how the car works. Most of us does not know anything about the car. We just get in and go. All right. But what do we need to know is where we're going, which is what we're desiring. So the law of assumption only requires you to know what you desire, but you need not know how to get it. You need not know, um, how to bring it about. All right. You're going to consciously know that it is not true. It is not facts. But what you should know is that if you persist in the craziness or the thought that this thing is possible, if you persist in it, then it will harden into facts. Case in point, the man who, I have to look his name up, but the guy who discovered radio waves cannot be seen, but for some reason he knew it existed. They had this guy like in a straight jacket because they thought he was crazy. Because he was telling them that, well, the purpose of this is to have a device that transmits sound in the ear, over the ear, and another device will pick it up. So you'd have the tower, which is the transmitter, and the radio, which is the receiver, right? And they're both communicating. Now, interestingly, notice that there are two devices here. One transmits, one receives. The one receiving is the conscious aspect of this network. The dial turning to tune into what station, what frequency. and the transmitter is the subconscious aspect of this, or the feminine aspect that has all of the channels already within itself. That at any given moment, any radio that tunes into it receives it. So you see how I could say, without knowing how consciousness works, still displays how consciousness works and how it is. I promise you, the guy who discovered radio waves and all this other stuff had no clue of how consciousness works, that there is a conscious and a subconscious. You don't have to know these things to demonstrate it. But it does help to know the difference of the two and why they work the way they work in terms of us here and anyone around the world desiring to manifest a particular thing. But I'm just demonstrating to you that how amazing it is that this um the radio, the invention, and notice it says invention, not outvention, but in, within. It's already in you. It's something that you drew out that already existed. And he did it using the law of consciousness, which is everything made by consciousness is going to always be made in its image and likeness. Always. It's going to always be two aspects of this thing. You understand? It's always. It's going to be um, up or down, right or left, in or out. There's no way around it. There's always going to be two, when creating anything. There has to be this dichotomy or this duality in the creative aspect of things. Okay, but just look at how the people thought that this man was crazy, and because of his craziness, we have radio today. We have um, telephones today. We have cell phones today. All these different things, computers, all these things are working wirelessly because once they knew that there's a particular frequency that exists that carries information, messages, not seen, but it exists. Once that became knowledgeable or become apparent, nobody thought this man was crazy anymore. You understand? And then they went on even further to creating the television. Notice it says tele, you know, vision, something that is transmitted over the air and received by a TV as a picture, image, video, not just a still picture, but a video for crying out loud, you know? And it's the same concept as the radio, except the difference is one is just sound and the other one is sound, video, and picture. You understand? So he said all these consciousness only on some are um only that some are unconscious of being conscious. Exactly. You know? You know, and that is our default. Our problem is that we are, really unconscious of how powerful we are as human beings in creating. We're always creating the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're never not. Um, and we do it so seamlessly. But whenever it's time for us to create something that we desire or want, we tend to fold and not accept that the conscious mind of itself can do nothing, but the Father in me with doeth the work. My subconscious mind, does the work. And it is just a recognition of that that makes all the difference in the world. It says that it is in this respect that you are impotent. What respect are you impotent? You can neither create nor change the law of assumption. So it is in this respect that you are impotent because you cannot create, right? You can neither create nor change this law. So since you cannot create it or change it, you have no potency to do anything about it. Absolutely none. You can't create it, you can't change it. It just is. But you can use it. That's the difference. Can't create it or change it, but you can use it. Okay? Maybe we cannot create a car or change how it looks, but we can certainly use it. And it works perfectly fine, because it's made to be used and operated the way in which we operate it. Okay? It says you can only yield or conform. And since all of your experiences are the result of your assumptions, consciously or unconsciously, the value of consciously using the power of assumption surely must be obvious. The value of consciously using the power of assumption is obvious. So why does it say that? The value of consciously, meaning to be aware that you are always using the power of assumption, whether it be unconscious or conscious, meaning that there are times when you're assuming something, but it's by habit. And so you're not really conscious that you are assuming this thing because it's a habit. People might say, boy, every time, may I come out to this stoplight, it's always red. But you're not really that conscious that this is a habit of yours, that you're always expecting it now to be a red light, you know. Every time you leave your house, it's a subconscious belief, acceptance that I know that light is gonna be red now. No matter what time I leave the house, it's always gonna be red. And these are habitual thinking. Rather than if you consciously say to yourself, no, I know when I get out there, the light green. Or as soon as I get to the light, it's gonna change. It's always green. You start to say these things to yourself to reprogram your subconscious, to learn what to do, then undo the foolishness that you were doing or thinking, and then you reprogram your subconscious mind with the correct way in which to speak or think or expect. You understand? So you are always assuming either habitually or consciously. It is our habitual assumption that gets us in trouble because habit is an unconscious behavior. It's the unconscious mind. Or the unconscious mind is a development within the subconscious, meaning that the subconscious is what do I call it now? It's a faculty that can be programmed. And whatever program it receives becomes unconscious, meaning that you don't think about what you're doing because it's already programmed. So this is how we operate by law on a everyday level. Everything that we learn, we start out not knowing what we're doing. We are unconsciously competent, incompetent. Okay, so you're incompetent, meaning that you don't know, and you are unconscious that you don't know. You don't know, so you don't know until you try it. You realize that I don't know. But as you persist over and over and over, it's like riding a bicycle. Use that as an example. You try to ride a bicycle, everybody's going to fail the first time riding a bicycle because you don't know how to do it. You've never done it. But persistence, before you know it, within an hour, 2 hours, however long it took you, based on your persistence, you start riding a bicycle and then you don't think about what to do anymore. You just get on the bicycle and ride. As a child, you did not know how to walk. But as you persist in learn how to walk, stumble here, fall here, this and that, and the third, after a while, one day you just get up and start walk, and then you start run. You don't even think about which foot to put first or left. And you're a baby. You don't even think which that you're a baby. You don't even know that you're a child. You just know that you are. And you're from that stage of a baby is you're operating your consciousness unconsciously, not thinking, about what to do. You just do it. Okay. And so as adults, we're doing the very same thing. So never right here is saying that you can only yield to the or conform to the law of assumption. Okay. You can only yield or conform. And since all your experiences are the result of your assumptions, all of them, whether they be good or bad, whether it was consciously or unconsciously, the value of consciously using the power of assumption surely must be obvious. It has a value to using it consciously because you're always programming your subconscious with everything you assume um, to be true, right? Willingly identify yourself with that which you most desire, knowing that it will find expression through you. Yield to the feeling of the wish fulfilled and be consumed as its victim, then rise as the prophet of the law of assumption. So let's unpack that one right there. It says to willingly or to consciously identify yourself with that which you most desire, knowing that it will find expression through you. It's only going to come through you. When in the story of Adam and Eve, when Adam was created, Adam was said to be put to sleep, and out of Adam came Eve, right? Out of Adam comes Eve. Then Eve was given the task of bringing forth Adam's children, um, Abel, Cain and Abel, and Seth, and whoever others came after that, right? So what it's telling you there is that everything always comes from out of you. That's all the story is telling you. That Eve was not is not telling you that Eve was a person or a woman that was made from Adam's ribs. Perish that thought. All right. This is allegory. This is symbolic writing. Okay. It is speaking in terms of um symb symbolisms or allegory, or metaphors, parables. All right. So Eve is what's emanating from you, from your mind, from your consciousness. It's always coming from out of you. Everything is made from within and comes out. So this is why Eve was said to be taken out of Adam and was given the task of bringing about or giving birth to whatever Adam desires, right? So, and it writes in all these dramatic, traumatic terminologies that Eve is going to, what it says, she's going to give birth in like pain or agony. I don't even know if it said that, but I know it says that she's going to be responsible for labor and stuff like that, right? So we took it as it means, giving birth to a child and being in pain. But no, it's talking about this part of you, which is the subconscious mind. You're always drawn out of it. It's always going to be in labor of giving you exactly everything you desire. Its responsibility is to give you what you desire, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. Okay? So it's always going to be in labor or laboring. Um, you're always going to be pulling out of your subconscious all the things you desire. If you look at it as in human interactions, a baby is born by being pulled out. We're demonstrating what goes on an invisible, if you want to use that terminology, level in terms of consciousness. The conscious mind is always drawn out of the subconscious, whatever it desires. And it's telling you that there's a time when the conscious mind, when the subconscious mind will deliver this desire, this baby, whatever. It has a pregnancy um, or gestational stage that it goes through that you have to understand, you know, that the thing you desire to happen already happened, but there's a time for it to be delivered. So in the instance you think about it, it's happened because this thing already exists. But consciousness has a way about it that it has to work through time. It's not going to give you at your time that you desire it. Say you want it. No, it's not going to necessarily do that. Okay. But it's going to do it. And you just have to understand that it works like that because if everything that you desire, especially unconsciously, if it was to happen right away, you would not like it. You would not be happy. We think about some dumb stuff at times by habit. And if these dumb things we think about was to happen right away, we would not make it this far. So by default, your subconscious mind does not work like that to just do something as you come to desire it or whatever the case may be. It requires persistence, consistency, or a very, very strong feeling of satisfaction or realization, you know. So it works by feeling or persistent habitual, thought or even action towards a particular thing. All right. And that's how the subconscious is programmed. So um when you identify yourself with the thing most desired, you know it's going to be expressed through you because you have within you this faculty, your Eve, your emanation, everything emanates from there, right? And yield to the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. Never teaches us this, that we should not see things as going to happen. We should see things as already happened. So you should yield to the wish, to the feeling. Notice it says right here, feeling of the wish fulfilled. So what kind of feeling would you garner if this thing was to already happen? If it not going to happen, but if it happened already, what could it be? Right? Or what action would you take? I never as designed some methods. And if we get the time, I'm going to read from the five lessons, some of his questions that people ask him in terms of manifesting and stuff like that. I'm going to see if we can get to a few of those. But um, what I'm saying, think of one thing, one instance, not many, but one thing that you would do over and over if this manifestation was to be true already. So let's just say it is the new car that you desire. What's the one thing that you could do every day that would imply that you have this new car? It could be simply using the remote to open the door, to unlock the doors, or opening the door with your hand. Never prefers that you use the sense of touch when you are working on your assumptions. Um, And not in the physical sense, but in the imaginary sense. You can imagine that you are touching something. This is how powerful your imagination is. I was trying this on someone a couple of days ago, and was just questioning, are you feeling the thing, or are you can you smell it? Can you taste it? So I was you having this person exercise their five senses within their imagination, just to teach them that your imagination is this powerful, that you can smell something, you can taste it, see it, hear it, and touch it. We can exercise all five senses within the imagination. But the one that never says that is most keen is the sense of touch, because touching something implies that you are really present. You're presently there, okay, when you touch it. Because you can see from a distance, through a binocular or telescope, something that is or it does exist, but you're not there physically yet. But when you get there and touch that thing, you know you're there. You don't have to ask if you're there, because of the sense of touch, holding on to something, mean that you are confined in a way to that thing. You are now one with that thing to touch it. And in scriptures, it talks about touching, kissing. Kissing means to touch, is to come together and become one. That's why when you get married, you're asked to kiss the bride. Okay? It's just to touch and become one. Isaac asked whom he thought at the time was Esau, but it was Jacob, to come and let me feel you. Let me touch your skin to see, to use that term, because touching is seeing. Let me touch you to see, because I cannot see right now. My eyes are dim or blind or whatever, right? I can't find my glasses. But let me touch to see if it's really you. And so Jacob had to dress up like his brother, who was hairy, and to mimic the hairiness of his brother. So he had to dress like him by using goat skin, which is hairy, which don't make any sense because man skin and goat skin are two different things in terms of the hair. But don't pay that no mind. This was to demonstrate the cleverness of dressing up your assumption in consciousness. It does not know the difference. Okay. So he was asked to dress up like his brother so he could, trick his father into believing that he was the one to receive the blessing. And he felt like it, smelled like it too, didn't sound like it, which is to imply that, you know, um, that part of you does not matter if you're the if you have the right what do I call it now? If you're the right person, or if you are qualified, meaning that educated, you're seeking a new position in your job, and have the education required, or have the tenure. You have been on the job 10 years yet. You only been there 10 months or whatever. None of that is relevant when it comes to dressing up your desire. Okay? Your consciousness does not care about that. Do you fit the part in consciousness? And it will find a way to um, make it happen. The thing that, based on the requirements of this job or company, you don't fit that requirement, but or those requirements, but some way, somehow, they decide to make an exception for whatever reason, because you dress up yourself as the person that is qualified in consciousness, and then your consciousness, your subconscious, goes about making that happen. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. The feeling. is to become like the thing you desire. So, like I said, opening up a car door over and over in your mind, which is to have the sense of touch, you touching the car door, um, over and over. It could be you could exercise also the sense of smell. A new car smells really nice, has a particular smell, right? You smell the new car. You could use a sense of hearing, maybe the sound of the engine when the car starts, or maybe the sound of the radio, you know. Um, you could feel how the seat feels, this the plushness of the seat and this and that and the third, whatever. So whatever can bring you feeling alive and it requires persistent, habitual doing within your mind. You understand? Just do it one time and that's it. You have to constantly do it over and over. What some people do, they do it in action. They actually, because it's I guess easier to demonstrate to your subconscious what you're thinking or desiring. And so they call this dream building. You can go to the car lot. It requires you physically going there and opening the door of the car that you desire to drive, whatever car that is, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, Toyota, Camry, whatever. Doesn't have to be anything luxurious, but whatever you desire to drive, you can go to the car lot and mimic, these actions on a physical level, and feel what the car feels like and touch what the car, touch the body of the car and the seat and all these different things you can do in your mind. I mean, in the physical, and it gives you a sense of okay, what it feels like no mentally, you know. You will know you can remember and relive this experience over and over in your mind. And as you persist in your assumption, as Never said, if the assumption is false right now, but if you persist in it, it will harden into facts. What's the hardening into facts? The way and means and how it is going to be um done will present itself, you know. All these things will present themselves. You'll find yourself doing something that is leading up to your fulfillment of your desire. You may or may not know what's going on at the time. It will seem so, what do you call it now, so simple or um, natural or normal that you won't even recognize the significance that is leading up to your desire. It's it will come like a thief in the night. The scripture tells you that, you know. So everything is going to be natural to you. It won't seem like it's any done with any effort. It's effortless effort, as them say, you know. Um, but the key word here is yield to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, which is to surrender or to become impotent, to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, meaning to you're not trying to make things happen. You are yielding to it that it has already happened. You have taken yourself out of it. You're taking away the so-called power that you don't even have within the conscious mind. You're taking away that so-called power that it thinks it has from the get-go. You are nipping it in the butt. You are yielding to the wish already fulfilled. And to be consumed as its victim, you know, you are now so relaxed and so impotent that you have now become consumed by the feeling that you have surrendered to. You're no longer fighting if this feeling is even factual or true. You're just lymph, you just relax into the desire that is already fulfilled. And then you rise as the prophet of the law of assumption. What it is saying there is that you have now mastered the law of assumption. You rise as the prophet, meaning that anything you say, anything you do in consciousness, whether it be verbally or, through thoughts and whatnot, you have now become the prophet because you are prophesying to yourself the things desired. They're going to they're going to come so much easier now because you have now learned the art of manifesting, which is to surrender or to exercise impotence with the conscious mind, to not try to figure out, don't even entertain that. Uh, because interestingly, every time you have a particular circumstance or issue or challenges or desire that comes up, you tend to go towards trying to figure out how it's going to happen. You said, well, I wonder how, because you know where you are in your position, whether it be monetarily or uh, time or whatever it is that's an hindrance, you automatically go to it right away. You have identified the obstacle right away, you know. And as I said earlier, it is a good thing to know. So don't worry about that part. This is just how the consciousness works. There's a reason why your mind rushes to the fact that you don't have the necessary funds for this particular concern or issue, challenge, or it might be a desire to go somewhere for your 20th anniversary or whatever it is, right? But you don't see the money. But you thought about the place, and then what comes to you next? How much that could cost, and if you have the money. There's a reason why your mind goes to these things. It's okay. It's supposed to. Okay. What it's not supposed to do now is dwell in that, what do you call it now, in that uncertainty. Don't dwell in the uncertainty. That is just to recognize that more is required than your current situation in order to make this thing happen. So more is required. So where is that more? That more is in your higher self. Everything lives there. So that's where you seek. As scripture tells you, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all its righteousness, and everything will be added unto you. Seek ye first. So you're seeking first your higher self, that is heaven. That's above you, above where the conscious mind is. The conscious mind roams the earth. Okay? That's his job, to roam the earth, to be here. Earth is where you have the external experiences. That's what I'm calling it, experiences outside. Earth is where everything comes from heaven and is placed here for you to experience what is in heaven. But you cannot have any experience in heaven. You can only go there in consciousness and desire or order. Neville of a book says, a tape that says order and wait. You go there and you order what you want, and it will be delivered to you externally. You understand? So that's where you go in consciousness to seek what you desire to have here. You cannot get it by trying to make it happen in a place that it does not exist. It doesn't exist outside. It only exists on the inside. So you have to go within your higher self. And how you do it, as Never says, you have to assume that the wish is already fulfilled. That is really is easiest and simplest way to do it, rather than looking at what you're going to have to get done. Like there, you have stages of things that where something has to be put in place. So you're looking at, well, I have to have the down payment, I have to have the survey done, I have to have this person sort this for me. And you're thinking about all these things that has to get done in sequences in order to have arrive at this one thing. Never says skip all of that stuff, because in doing so, somewhere along the line, you're going to find a reason to doubt or to have um, the feeling of uncertainty. You're going to come up against something that, why, does not look possible at all. Because, and you're going to go down this rabbit hole as to why it is not. And so your focus is now incorrect. So what never says to do is focus on the job already finished. Why? Because if it's finished, then everything that was going to be a hindrance was sorted anyway, was figured out. You couldn't arrive at the end if the beginning and the middle and all this other stuff were not done properly. You couldn't arrive at the end. In other words, if you're taking a trip and you find yourself at the very end of the trip, you're there wherever you desire to go. You don't go back and wonder if you're there. You already know you got there. Everything went right, and you made it there. You understand? Everything went right, and you're where you set out to go. So it's the same thing that Neville is saying here, is that to cross off, cross out, delete, you know, don't concern yourself with the middle of how this thing is going to happen. Concern yourself only with the beginning in terms of what you desire. Okay, you have a desire, that's the beginning. Once you identify the desire, as it says, to what the statement it says right here about willingly identify yourself with that which you most desire. So that is your first thing to do. Consciously identify yourself with that which you most desire. Then it says, yield to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's the last thing you do. Yield to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So you go to what you most desire, you have a desire, and then you yield to the feeling of it already fulfilled, meaning to go straight to the end of what the experience would feel like or be like, should it be a reality, and remain there. Do not leave. Remain there in your consciousness, in your imagination. Live in that, dwell in that place of the wish already fulfilled. And the middle part, that's the part you don't know. And it's interesting, it's in the middle, because your higher self is a centered being, centered existence. Okay? It operates from a central standpoint. You understand? It draws everything that is to happen towards itself. Okay? Everything comes to it. This central part of you, everything goes to it, and everything comes from it. It is to which everything goes and to which everything comes. All right? So that's why the middle part of your, challenges or desires or whatever circumstances is not known, because your subconscious is responsible for knowing that part. So it is what's joining the beginning and the end together. Okay? The beginning is your desire, the end is the desire fulfilled. Scripture says, I am the beginning and the end. the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. You're always going to be bringing two things to meet. But how does it meet? You have to go to the very end. You cannot stay in the beginning. If you stay in the beginning, you can't reach the end. So you develop the beginning and then you develop the end. The beginning and the end are one and the same, but they require um, a glue, something divine, something that is all knowing, all potent, and all present to draw the two together and make them one. Your desires and the end or the wish fulfilled, they always have to be apart. They cannot be together because um, that would mean that even the bad would already have um, a oneness with you, and it would be something that you are always experiencing, even without desiring it. So that's what we mean that your desires are undesired circumstances or outcomes would also be things that happen to you without even you having desired them. So the reason why these things are separate, um, you know, in consciousness is because you have the responsibility to put them together, to join them together, to marry them, the beginning and the end. Okay? You have the responsibility to join them so that you can control if it's something you want to experience or not. But if they were always together, then you'll be having experiences that you had no control over whatsoever, that you did not put together. But all your experiences are things that you put together, whether you know them or not, or whether they be good or bad. It's always you who's doing it. Nobody else can do it but you. People can come to aid you in carrying out these things because all of whom you see are yourself pushed out. Yourself being the divine, not the physical we're talking about here. We're talking about consciousness. You are all consciousness, all imagination, as Neva would say. There's only one being experiencing this entire world and other worlds, as a matter of fact. There's only one being playing all these parts. There's only one big old ocean all over the world. You understand? But you can go and take a cup or a spoon and separate from the ocean. So it has a individual experience or separate experience from the whole, but ever remain one with the whole. Because it though it's taken out, it doesn't change its property. It doesn't become stone or fire or whatever. It still remains H2O. So when you throw it back into the ocean, it becomes one again with it. It never changes. It just may change location or shape, form. You understand? It may become ice, vapor, hot, cold, mist, you name it, but it still remains its divine self, H2O. So this is why we can desire something and someone brings us what we desire, because that person, infinite being, is within them as well, and is um you know playing the part that requires your desire to be fulfilled. Okay? Everybody's playing the part, but they're all coming from within you. It's a network. We may not be able to explain it on an intellectual level, but fundamentally, that's how it works. We may not be able to tell you all the intricate parts that is doing this and doing that and the third, and how this person knows how to, you know, come to you at your aid. Nobody knows. They don't know that. This is all consciousness operating in a divine way, unbeknownst to the individual. You understand? So, and that's important to know. That way you can, make decisions on how something is going about and whatnot. You know, you can recognize what's going on and make a decision if you're going to go through it with it or not. You can literally do that, you know. But when you don't recognize what's going on, you're just operating from an unconscious state, and you may end up doing something before the time or untimely, so to speak, because you weren't really aware of what you were getting into. So we do have the ability to recognize or to, it's like a deja vu, seeing what deja vu means already happened, right? Or you've seen it already. So you recognize, you know, through your senses what's really happening because it's happened already within yourself. So that's why you recognize it. Okay. You re you remember it, you know. And so deja vu is pretty much like that. It's something that you've done already, experienced already. You just don't remember, just don't know. But that's the only reason why you even recognize it. It has to be. Okay. Has to be. So yes, on that level, that is the end of the chapter. Like I said, it's a very quick one, but it has so many nuggets within it that this thing can be covered, for a lengthy period of time. Um, because there's so many intricate parts of it to really dissect and completely understand. But the main part I want you guys to understand or understand, like Sir Marlin like to say, is the is to acknowledge that you have to have personal impotence or to relax, to surrender, to give up control of trying to make your desires happen. Because there's a higher self, there's another part of you that has the responsibility to do it. Recognition of that is key. We did not know that back in the day when we would pray. We would beg and plead and all this type of stuff because in our conscious mind, we're still thinking of how it's not possible. We know all the ways it's not possible. Not the ways it's possible, no, all the ways that it is not. We identify that consciously because we know our current situation. So we know it's not possible as it is now, but we beg and plead because we don't know how it is possible. There's no need to beg and plead. Do you beg and plead what name there? The mechanic. When you take your car to the mechanic, do you beg and plead to him to fix your car? No. You just take your car to the mechanic and you know he's going to fix it because that's what he does. It's not your job. You understand? So we know how to separate these things on an everyday level, as we operate. But when it comes to praying, which is to desire, we don't know this fundamentally. You understand? We don't know it. And so we say, no, I should say we don't know it intellectually. We don't know how to explain it, how to bring it about. But fundamentally, it is within us. We know it fundamentally, but we just don't have the awareness that is there. And so uh we contradict ourselves by desiring something, um, we want it, all this type of stuff, but we keep shooting ourselves in the foot by looking at the ways it's not going to happen, and it cannot happen. And we have failed before many times, and so we go back to the past failures to further squeeze this thing to death, this desire, take whatever life out of it that it had, and starve it of the ability to be manifested because we know too much of the reason and the way it cannot happen and not going to happen. And so when we take ourselves out of it, become impotent, become um, you know, relaxed, limp, present, you know, and let go, like a farmer has to let go the seed to fall into the soil. The farmer cannot hold on to the seed above the soil or in a pocket. It's not going to grow. It's not going to grow because it's not planted. He has to let it go. Letting it go is a sign of impotence, meaning that uh, there's no way I, as a farmer, can get the seed to grow on my own. I have to let it go into the earth that knoweth how to do the work. You understand? Nature knows how to do the work. The sun is going to shine, rain is going to fall. We have oxygen going into the soil. All the things that the seed needs already exist. I don't have to do anything. The farmer had to let it go and forget about it. That's key. Forget about it. Like how you put that certainty. Let it go and forget. You understand? Because if you go back every day looking, you say you don't go back digging it up, looking for evidence. If you go back every day digging it up to see if it started to grow yet, it has not reached the stage to grow because you're interfering with the process. That's like you impregnating your wife and going every day to see when the baby is coming. She's not even showing yet. You understand? There's a time and you don't have anything to do with it. The baby will go come when it's ready. Okay? There's a divine sequence and or sequences and physical operation of the body that you don't need to do anything with it. It does everything for itself. The baby is going to come when it's ready. Your job was just to plant the seed. You understand? And everything else takes care of itself. So it's like, I like to say, this thing is simple, but it's not easy. It's very simple, We're working with two aspects of our consciousness at all times, masculine and feminine, male and female, just like how we do right here on Earth, male and female. Nobody has said, I wonder how um this person are gonna get pregnant or can get pregnant. Hmm? You don't wonder. You see it happen all the time. You see your siblings. You didn't see your birth, but you saw your siblings' birth. You saw other people having children. So you know, question. I wonder how you just do it. Operate so naturally, so seamlessly in this physical world. But when it comes to the mental world, this is where we feel the mental world is foreign to us. And we don't realize that the mental supersedes the physical. The physical is just mimicking what goes on in the mental. The mental world is the first world. You understand? It's the only world that is real to begin with. The world that we live in is fake. It's an illusion, projection. It changes all the time. It's not real. The world that is projecting it, reflecting it, that's the real world. That's the world that's in control. And that is the world that we struggle with because we're so used to operating from this physical plane that we don't know that we're even more potent, more powerful on the mental plane. Okay. So that is the world that we're becoming more aware of and accustomed to. So, like I said, the same way all man and woman interact and have intercourse and have babies is the same thing you're doing in your consciousness. There's nothing different. It is absolutely the same thing. You understand? The conscious mind and the subconscious mind are man and woman, male and female, husband and wife. Okay? And the two agree and come together and become one. Everything we do in the physical world in terms of marriage, as I was talking yesterday to a couple of friends of mine, we talk about marriage. It is a agreement between two people. One doesn't stick up the other one with a gun or a knife and say, marry to me. It's an agreement. You understand? And there's a mediator, the pastor in the middle, doing the ceremony. But it's a marriage between two. Then these two, you know, decide to have a baby and whatnot. They come together and they produce a child from themselves. That child has always been within you. Your desires are always within you. You're just drawing them out when you decide to have the experience. You understand? You notice when we get married, we join hands, we kiss, we walk side by side, um, we exchange rings. The two rings are really just uh, signaling no beginning, no end. You can't tell where the rings begin or ends. So it's symbolizing a sense of infinity. You understand? And the reason why there's two rings is because when you bring them together, they form the number eight. Eight is a number that implies infinity. You understand? No beginning, no end. So there's so and some people draw the eight just like that, two zeros to make the form the number eight. But that's really what it is. You understand? And the arch that we stand under is the number eight on not the number eight, but the letter eight, the letter et in Hebrew, which its symbolic number that represents is the number eight. So it sounds like eight, and its numerical value is eight. This is why we said in our number system, the number eight, we're really saying het from the Hebrew letter het, which is two letters coming together to make one, the vowel and the zayin. Those two letters come together to form that letter, implying that the vowel is masculine, the zayin is feminine. So it is showing you right there that the two letters, one masculine, one feminine, joins together to become one and makes the sound het, or the number, or the letter het, which is to tell you that the two become one. Okay? All these things are not coincidental or accidental. These things are laws within consciousness. When these people, whoever they were, who brought these things into being, these letters and symbols and whatnot, they were not making up stuff. They were revealing what already exists within themselves, which is consciousness. It's a revelation. So it is not something that was worked on and we're going to make sure that this goes here. No, they had no control in terms of the the um the truth of it. They're just expressing something that they may not intellectually understand it, but fundamentally they did. You understand? It's their foundation. There's no way around it. So it was easy to express and then studied and understood and stuff like that. And all of us relate, no matter what language you speak, because consciousness is that diverse and knowledgeable. Don't need to speak the same language to understand each other. Whatever language you speak, we're saying the same thing. Sound different, saying the same thing. Imagine that. So, um, this understanding from today's lesson, I want you guys to really, really, take it personal. That any desire you have become impotent, meaning to give up trying to make it happen, already just yield to the fact that it already has happened. We have to practice that more and then be consistent in that practice with all things that we do, that these things already exist. And don't worry about take yourself out of it, become impotent, surrender, and how it is going to happen. That's it. The sooner we do that, that is you giving up control. And the sooner we do that, the sooner our things will manifest. I promise you, because we have taken out the interference out of it. Okay. So that's what I hope that all of that made sense, with today's topic. That impotence, personal impotence is not weak, is a strength, is not weakness, it's a strength. So it sounds contradicting, but it's really the absolute truth. Impotence in that sense is strength. To become potent or try to become potent when creating on a conscious mind level is weakness. Okay, you're gonna always be weak in trying to manifest if you're trying to do it consciously. Okay, the Father in you is the one that does the work, that knows how to do the work, that has already done it. There is no need to try to do it. Your only job is to desire and to order your desire, go to the end of the desire as it's already fulfilled, as if it's already fulfilled. Live in the end, not in the beginning. Live at the very end, and then just wait. And like a thief in the night, it will come unto you. All right. Um, I know Sergi said he was busy or still is busy, doing a bunch of stuff. Um, he actually just came back from JA last night, so has a lot going on in relation to that. As you guys know, he and I went to Jamaica last week to bury his father who had passed um, some weeks ago. When I say weeks, I'm talking over a month. But last week was the homegoing of Mr. Thomas Mars Boogs, and it was a wonderful send off. So I was there, he was there, and family and stuff like that. So he just came back last night. I came back on Monday of this week. Um, so yeah, man, there's a lot going on, but Everything went well. Just so you guys know, considering the circumstances, it was rather pleasant. And you guys have heard of the story that he gave about his father on the day of his departure. He was very conscious and willing to depart. So it was a pretty interesting experience for Sir T. And last week, Saturday, was just the finale. Yeah, man. The Sir T said, thank you everyone for your support, the thoughts, and the encouragement. Yeah, man. So we support you greatly, Sir T. Yeah, man. Moss Bugs is resting well. Resting in paradise, as I'm saying. Um, that is his divine self is one again with the Father, the all that there is. Okay. So that said, just want to read this real quickly and then we're gonna get out of here. This is Neville Goddard's original masterclass, 5 lessons, and gonna read a question here or two. It says, question number 7. I've been taught not to ask for the earthly things, only for spiritual growth, yet money and things are what I need. So this is somebody asking a question, right? Or making a statement. Answer, you must be honest with yourself. All through scripture, the question is asked, what do you want of me? Some wanted to see, others to eat, and still others wanted to be made straight, or that my child live. Your dimensionally larger self speaks to you through the language of desire. You hear that? Your dimensionally larger self speaks to you through the language of desire. Do not deceive yourself. Knowing what you want, claim you already have it. There goes again, living in the end. For it is your Father's good pleasure to give to you, and remember what you desire that you have. I like that. Whatever you desire, you already have it. That's what that really says right there. Okay. Um, so just to reiterate, he says that your dimensionally larger self speaks to you through the language of desire. So when you're desiring, though you're using the conscious mind to desire, it is your higher self that is speaking through your conscious mind by the way of the language of desire. This is consciousness seeking embodiment. You understand? So it's funny how that really works. This is your consciousness seeking embodiment. So it desires to it speaks to you through the language of desire. Hey, I desire this, I desire that, I desire to go here, there, I desire to make this much money, I desire this particular food, whatever, right? Or this partner. It's all desires. Well, you have to know the order in which how to operate your consciousness. So once the desire comes, you become impotent in trying to control how the desire happens and leave it up to the greater self now to bring about the thing desired. Okay. So it's like a gate or a door. Um, the conscious mind is the first door, you know. You have the first, well, that's line of operation. Once you open that door and have your desires come to mind, you shut it, which is to shut the door to your 5 senses, because the conscious mind operates by where the 5 senses. You shut the door, and the 5 senses are no limited or closed off for now. Because if you allow them to be active, they will, you know, conjure up ways and means of how things are not going to happen. So you close it off completely and then turn yourself within to your subconscious to bring about the desire. Okay. And you just go live it, you go to the end of the desire and live there until the subconscious, you know, brings about the way of your desire. Question number 8. When you have so when you have as assumed your desire, you understand this? When you have as assumed your desire, do you keep in mind the ever presence of this greater one protecting and giving you your assumption? So again, when you have, let me read that this. When you have assumed your desire, do you keep in mind the ever presence of this greater one protecting and giving you your assumption? The answer. Let's see. The acceptance of the end wills the means. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and your dimensionally greater self will determine the means. That's what we just said. When you appropriate a state as though you had it, the activity of the day will divert your mind from all anxious thoughts so that you do not look for signs like the Jews do. You do not have to carry the feeling that some presence is going to do it for you. Rather, you know it is already done. So it is saying that just know it's already done, rather than being conscious that your higher self is going to do it for you. Just because that is you kind of resting in the how and when type of thing, you know. But if you rest in that it's already done, then there's nothing to think about. You understand? It's already finished, so there's nothing to think about how it's going to be done. If it's already done, there's no thinking on that level. It says, knowing it is already a fact, walk as though it were, and things will happen to make it so. You do not have to be concerned about some presence doing anything for you. The deeper dimensionally greater self has already done it. All you do is move to the place where you encounter it. Remember the story of the man who left the master and was on his way home when he met his servant who said, your son lives. And when he asked at what hour it was done, the servant replied, the seventh hour, the self same hour that he assumed is desire. Okay, this is powerful right here. Again, the story of the man who left the master and was on his way home when he met his servant who said, your son lives. Your son being your desire. Okay? Your son lives. And when he asked at what hour it was done, the servant replied, the seventh hour. The servant here is your subconscious mind or your higher self. The man is the conscious mind asking, when will I have this thing? And it says the seventh hour. The seven is maybe remember now the seventh is rest. It's the Sabbath. There's no creation going on. It finished already. Creation is done in 6 days, not seven. You create in six, which means that it's already in the past. When you get to the seventh, it's done already. So when you're in the seventh, it is to acknowledge that it is already done. You are resting in the assurance that it's already done. So when he said the seventh hour, he's just implying the self same hour that he assumed his desire. So as soon as you assume your desire, it is a done deal. Remember, your desire is nothing for you to create, it already exists. Creation is finished. So once you desire it, that is the sixth day. Done already. Then you go into the Sabbath, okay, which is to acknowledge that you are pregnant with your desire. It's done already. So the self same day that you assume something or have the desire, it is that said same day that it is finished. Okay? It was done for him, for it was at the seventh hour that the master said, your son lives. Your desire is already granted. Walk as though it is, or as though it were, and although time beats slowly in this dimension of your being, it will nevertheless bring you confirmation of your assumption. I ask you not to be impatient, though. If there is one thing you really have need of, it is patience. We just covered that. You understand? You have to have patience when it comes to these things. Um, because they say patience is a virtue, meaning that, it keeps you persistent, consistent, and you persevere. It teaches you perseverance. You understand? Comes what may, you persevere through it. You patiently wait for that moment of your wish fulfilled to appear. So patience is very, very necessary to have when you are working consciousness to bring about, your desire. All right. One more question. Question number 9. Isn't there a law that says you cannot get something for nothing? Must we not earn what we desire? That's a good question. Isn't there a law that says you cannot get something for nothing? Answer. Creation is finished. I just said that. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Seek ye first the kingdom, right? The parable of the prodigal son is your answer. In spite of man's waste, when he comes to his senses and remembers who he is, he feeds on the fatted calf of abundance. The fatted calf is your consciousness, and wears the robe and ring of authority. There is nothing to earn. Creation was finished in the foundation of time. You, as man, are God, made visible for the purpose of displaying what is, not what is to be. You, as man, are God, made visible. You hear me say? You, as man, are God, made visible. Man is God made visible for the purpose of displaying what is, not what is to be. Do not think you must work out your salvation by the sweat of your brow. It is not 4 months until the harvest. The fields are already white, simply thrust in the sickle. The 4 months there is just a metaphor for when we on an earthly plane are operating maybe a crop or chickens or whatever it is we're growing. We might say 4 months before it is ready. But consciousness does not apply to that. You understand? Consciousness has no boundaries, no limits, except the ones we give it. So you desire something, and it might tell you, well, it's not ready until these ducks line up. This is the 4 months it's talking about. It has to reach that 4 months. It uses the number four because in the name of the Father in Hebrew, it's Yod Hey Vav Hey. Yod is the Father, Hey is the desire, Vav is the feeling of having the desire, the feeling of attaching the desire to the Father or to the one desiring. And the last Hey is the desire made present, made evident. Okay, so there's using it symbolically in the 4 months. Lazarus was dead for 4 days. all these things. Um, but it is saying that in consciousness, the 4 months does not apply in terms of 4 literal months, 120 days. It's anytime, any given moment. It could be 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 hour. You understand? Or 1 hour, 1 day, could be 1 year. So it all depends on what um your belief or your faith into this thing, the possibility of this thing happening. So your 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 4 months is putting a limitation on you if you were to look at it like that. Okay, as it says here that it is not 4 months until the harvest. The fields are already white, means it's already white, meaning that everything already exists. So you don't have to wait for 4 months. If it exists already, then there's nothing to wait for a particular time for it, or wait for your ducks to line up in a row for things to manifest. You know they already exist. No, in your consciousness. You understand? And so because you know that, you speak um from a level of having instead of a level of will have or hope to have. You speak from the level of you already have it because creation is finished. There's nothing to create. All we're doing is aligning with the things that our desires matches up with, right? And just draw it out. Okay? We're drawing it out of our very own self, nowhere else but our very own self. For we are consciousness, the all that there is and ever will be. We're just operating from a sense of limitation. We've limited our power to a level of ignorance. And we have to climb a ladder of knowledge to relearn, to remember, to recognize what we already know to be true. You understand? So it is done that way so that we interact with consciousness. It's an interaction. It's like the author writing the movie. Um, it's just a movie written, but until somebody acted out, you don't get to see what the how the movie moves and have it's been. You understand? The people acting out the movie shows you what the script is about. You gave the script life. Before that, it was just a theory or just just a written word. But now you get to see the action, and that's what gives you the experience, the interaction. You becoming one with the script, so to speak. So consciousness is just basically living out what already is with all of us here in this world, whether you be man, woman, animals, insects, vegetation, whatever it is, any object, rock, stone, you name it. This is all consciousness, outwardly, as it says right here, that you know, you as man are God made visible for the purpose of displaying what already is. God already is, already exists. If God exists, then creation is finished. There is nothing to be created. The God is creation. God is the evidence of everything already existing. If you believe in a God, I believe God exists, then everything already exists because nothing exists without this God. You understand? That's how simple it really is. So we're not making anything because all things are already made through through God or through the Father, through consciousness. Everything exists already. So all we're doing is just desiring and calling out what already exists. What appears to be dead, like Lazarus, it only sleepeth. You understand? And all you have to do is resurrect it from the dead state to the living state. All right. So that's it, guys. That's our thought for today, our message for today. So thank you all for being here. We were missing for a week, but now we're back and we'll be back going forward. Um, so next week we'll be back again. I think next week will be the 9th, August 9th. All right. So we'll be back to give you guys some more insight on our ability to create and to live a life of abundance. All right. So that said, bless upon yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day and the week. And we will be back here again next week. Peace. Over and out.